We can start. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. We will be presenting today the CYSSDE second open call. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to Ulrich. He's the project coordinator, and he will be starting giving an overview of the project. Then I will be giving a short presentation on about the application process on behalf of Rosa, who is the project manager, who unfortunately is sick today, so she won't be able to attend. Then afterwards, we will be giving you the floor. You can either raise your hand to be allowed to speak, or you can type your questions in the chat, and we will be answering them. So, Ulrich, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Antonio, and well, good afternoon also on my behalf. Welcome to this first Open Call 2 CYSSDE webinar that we're hosting. That means that indeed, yes, there has been already an Open Call 1, and indeed, yes, there will be probably others that will follow. So CYSSDE is really an activity that is there to support companies that are making that transition into cybersecurity resilience improvements by supporting them financially with basically on the domain of penetration testing and vulnerability assessments. We thank you very much for your presence here and your interest in this open call. My name is indeed Ulrich Saldesax. I'm the managing director of an association called ELSEC, and we are the coordinators of the project, meaning that we guide the rest of the team in the first place to develop some interesting applications, and hope that you will be able to work with us during the open calls and also learn from some of the developments that the teams are making. With the open call, we aim to support the organizations in the broader context, meaning both organizations that are looking for pen testers and pen tests, as well as those organizations that are executing and performing those pen tests in finding the right environments where to do those pen tests, namely then critical infrastructures, and in this case also the critical infrastructure companies and the important entities and the entities related to NIS2, in this case essential operators. So basically what this is all about, and what this call will be all about, is to give you some more insights why we do this, why we offer up to 200,000 euros for you to be able to participate in these activities, and what then we would also expect, of course, from you to do within those activities. As probably most of you know, we have opened the call on the 7th of January, and we'll be closing the call on the 7th of April at 5 p.m. So in between now, in this case, and then the 7th of April, there's an application form that you have to complete, and then there's some additional requirements once you've been selected that you will need to follow through. Just as a short disclaimer, the only correct information that you will be able to get from us is basically everything that's been written inside of the guide for applicants. The information that we provide you here is basically some additional guidance to help you through, and to make sure that you also get maybe some additional background to get a better understanding of how to position yourself towards these open calls, and maybe also get a better proposal or application in. This is the first out of probably 2, but maybe even 3 open of these webinars where we will be giving some more insights and background. In this first one, we hope that you already have some questions and comments, and we hope to be able to address them. In the next one, which will be next month, we'll be hopefully able to guide you a little bit further in the applications themselves. But for that, we do invite you to already start filling in your application so that we can give you better advice and insights on how to further improve your application as a whole. So we won't be doing that on an individual basis, but we will be able to give you some tips and tricks on how to further improve your application, all as a group, of course, as applicants to this open call. We will, in this case, also present ourselves as a consortium. So that is the CYSSDE consortium, which in this case has been receiving the funds to be able to award you through the European Commission. And in this case, the European Commission in the mechanism of the European Cybersecurity Competence Center that is basically awarded also the fact that they run all of these different projects, which are called European cyber projects, part of the Digital Europe program. So in this specific call, we'll be talking about CYSSDE, about the Open Call 2. We'll also be talking very briefly a little bit about some of the activities that we've been doing in Open Call 1 to give you the perspective that you really haven't missed anything, but just to give you a little bit of the background on where it is coming from. And then there will be time for questions in relation to, in this case, the Open Call 2, of course. And also very importantly, we'll be giving you some guidance on where to find additional support. So basically the help functionalities wherever and however you might need it when you are applying for the open calls. So putting things into the right perspective, CYSSDE is a project and a collaboration of a number of partners, which is standing for Cybersecurity Deployment Support. So it's basically a support action that is there to support, in this case, capacity and capabilities and the preparedness for the different legislative actions that the European Commission has started taking. So that's definitely there for everything in relation to NIS2, but also the other regulations related to cybersecurity, such as the more recent one, the Cyber Resilience Act, but in between also other domains such that have an implication of cybersecurity, such for instance as AI. So this program specifically is part of the Digital Europe program, of which we have been applying for. And in this case, it was specifically the Cyber 04 group of projects, which was awarded to us in the middle of last year. Basically, this project got started already at the beginning of the year in 2024. We knew that we were selected, but it took a bit of time to get things going. So in between June, when this project really was started, we have launched a first open call, which was directed specifically to the national cybersecurity competence centers. So basically the NCCs in the member states, where we asked them also for support of these open calls that we will be organizing for pen testers and vulnerability assessments. And so the Open Call 1 is basically there and is supporting some of the NCCs in Europe to facilitate that. What in this case the Open Call is really about, it's giving these funds up to 200,000 euros to be able to execute pen tests and vulnerability assessments in the first place towards critical infrastructures, towards NIS2 related activities, therefore meaning essential and important entities, and of course also towards devices, so not only organizations or excuse me, the entities within the organizations, but also devices or applications which might be falling under the Cyber Resilience Act, the CRA. So definitely also for SMEs, which we know are sometimes a bit falling under the radar, or therefore having also the necessary support that is needed for them to be able to get to this additional level of cybersecurity. So basically all of these main entities are the target audiences in the first place, excuse me, of the pen testing capabilities and of the vulnerability assessments. So that means that we will be in the first place looking for those pen tests that will be happening in those domains. Of course, those are not only the domains that we will be looking out for. So if there's other domains that you would like to do your pen test and vulnerability assessments in, those are also very much welcome. But we do ask you to, of course, provide some additional argumentation on why we should also be looking into those. So our primary targets for you as well to pick up on our pen tests in these particular domains. So that means SMEs, critical infrastructure, essential entities, and important entities in European landscapes. We will be doing these activities together with the member states NCCs, meaning that we also reach out to the NCCs to help us, number one, promoting the activities, but equally so to making sure that there is more interest being organized within the member states for critical infrastructures that might need additional support, or for SMEs that might need additional support. And so therefore, if you are on the other side, a cybersecurity company, and you are looking towards companies where you want to provide your services for pen testing and vulnerability assessments, then do, of course, also reach out to the member states NCCs, notify to them that you would like to participate in the open calls organized by CYSSDE, and together you might be able to find potential critical infrastructures or essential entities and operators that might be looking for those types of tests, because in the end they will require it also for their levels of cybersecurity improvements in order to be able to comply to both the CER, critical infrastructure, or NIS2 regulations. Having said that, to get a little bit of things into perspective, why do we do these things? Well, we are basically organizing these activities on behalf of the European Commission. So we receive the funds, and basically we will be able to distribute them to you as applicants, as chosen applicants in the end, to do this. The European Commission has started to organize these types of activities because there is definitely a lack in cybersecurity in many of those particular domains. To put that into the right context, as we do see over the last decade, for sure, there has been an increase in the connected world. So more and more pieces of Europe are being connected, going both from water systems to farming and agriculture, to industrial environments, or to just business applications and environments. We do see sensors and applications popping up in many different environments, so meaning both the appliances as well as the applications. And so for those, we of course also see quite a number of challenges popping up. And those challenges are typically seen in the means of potential attack surfaces that are just there and are continuously expanding. So all of these devices and applications which are being connected have been developed, of course, with the intention to provide additional services and additional interactions. But in that respect, it of course opens up quite a number of potential new dangers for these connected organizations that need to be protected. And so on the one hand side, there's the applications and there's the interactions that have to be supported, but definitely also the appliances and devices that are being put inside of those environments. So in the extended enterprise, if you like, there's of course the organization itself that is falling under currently NIS2, that needs to have a very good perspective of its cybersecurity standing, and therefore also getting a better perspective on where its potential risks are. That's the reason why you can start configuring and considering to do vulnerability assessments that then lead into potential pen tests, if you want to be sure that basically the type of cybersecurity instruments that you have put in place are also the right ones and the valid ones, and also the ones which are rightfully operating. So therefore, we organize these types of activities to ensure that potential vulnerabilities that might be there because of the fact that you have these applications are can be simply evaporated by at least getting an understanding of where some of these are. So taking it a step further down, if you consider the fact that companies have many applications, then we do see that quite a number of those applications are also based upon open source. And from, let's say, the different open source types of installations, there will be many different vulnerabilities that we can discover. Giving it a perspective more on hardware, We just took a picture here from one of our colleagues, pen testing partners, which have been scrutinizing and investigating different appliances. So in this case, it's the inside of a vacuum cleaner and home vacuum cleaner that has a camera inside, that has a number of motors inside, but that also has a number of potential ways to interact with, like for instance a USB port. So all of these different interaction ports and components are basically targets of specifically an external hacker that might be interested in getting access to them. So taking this from a little bit a wider perspective on European level, for instance, as well, ENISA sees today and also towards 2030 different challenges in relation to the European threat landscape. And definitely in that domain, there are things like supply chain compromise of specifically software dependencies, but equally so exploitation of unpatched and outdated systems. There are different AI systems that can be, in this case, impacted. So there's many different environments, basically potential threats that can be, in this case, attacked. So taking this also from another perspective, and this is really the number of known vulnerabilities that can be exploited, which are being reported as well. So the European threat landscape, it's actually impacted by the number of CVEs as well. And as you can see, there's a growing number of known vulnerabilities over the last couple of decades. So since 2009, we've seen an annual reported number of CVEs that has been increasing, and in 2023, reaching already nearly 30,000. The latest number of 2024, this went a little bit too fast. The latest number of 2024 was not yet, let's say, the full perspective of 2024. So it is expected that there will be some additional ones added to that list. So given that, that there's actually quite a number of known vulnerabilities today, the challenge is that these known vulnerabilities are also being exploited, meaning that they can be exploited, and meaning that therefore there is actually quite a number of risks out there which are not fully being protected, but they are being used by the malicious abusers in this case to use those exploits and to use those vulnerabilities to exploit systems that might be operational into your environment. So this is just giving a perspective of a recent number that basically the known exploited vulnerabilities is indicating. So meaning that only through CISA, which is a US-based agency, is trying to keep track on the different non-exploited vulnerabilities, and that is just a fraction of the ones that are being reported. So if you have this huge number of vulnerabilities, the ones which are being reported is only a fraction of this, and then the ones which are known to be exploited is only a minor fraction of this, but already quite a large number. So from those known exploited vulnerabilities, you can see that it happens in many different environments. So it's not only Microsoft, it's not only in physical systems related to Cisco. You see that there's actually quite a number of different entities that can be exploited. For instance, things that companies do tend to forget are the content management systems of their websites, are various open source softwares that exist, or even developer tools for that matter. And it's not getting any better very nearly soon. In 2018, for instance, for the 2.5% of the CVEs that had weaponized exploits, meaning the weaponized exploits are the ones that can be exploited, basically that there's some malwares being addressed directly to them. Exploit weaponization took just under a year. But if you take that into fast forward into 2023, exploit weaponization is down to 8 days. And if you take that even to a further step, about 23% of the known CVEs in terms of known exploitation of them in 2024, about 23% were zero-day exploits, meaning that the moment that we know that there is a vulnerability, that those can be exploited and they will be exploited at the same day that the vulnerability is being known. This is the fundamental reason why it is required for each and every organization and each and every product to scrutinize the security of your appliances and devices, of your softwares and your infrastructures. And that's exactly also the reason why we fully support this reasoning from the Commission that activities need to happen and actions need to be taken in order to protect your systems, your networks, and your applications from vulnerabilities, both known, especially the known ones, but definitely also to try to figure out potential unknown vulnerabilities, which is also one of the reasons why these vulnerability assessments have to take place. So as I said, the ones from CISA, the US agency on cybersecurity that existed under the Biden administration and is just continuing to exist under Trump for the time being, is just listing out a number of different known exploited vulnerabilities. But as you can see, there's many different other ones, and only at the very late of 2023, an additional series were added to this, some additional known exploited vulnerabilities that were added to the list. And then there's, of course, quite a number of unknown vulnerabilities that have still to be further found. So quite serious, big numbers that we can see that are happening there. So then why are we targeting, in this case, critical infrastructure? Well, CYSSDE Open Call 2 is targeting critical infrastructure because, of course, critical infrastructures are the core infrastructure on where the activities of the European Union is based upon. Those mean energy, including also nuclear. Those mean space. Those mean, excuse me, transports, for instance, ports and railway systems. And therefore, these need to be much more protected in order to be able to prevent potential impacts such as cyber warfare, but equally so the non-resilience of those infrastructures. And not to forget, of course, also the digital structures that we are all working with. On top of this, there's the NIS2 types of entities. Why so? Because, of course, these NIS2 entities need to be able to comply to the requirements of NIS2 as being addressed in the member states on an ongoing basis. So within the next 2 to 3 years, you can see that, again, many of the ones already under critical infrastructure, but also related to healthcare, drinking water and wastewater. Public authorities are part of those NIS requirements and fall under that scope. And so also they will need to get some additional interest, and therefore also vulnerability assessments should be taking place there. And then finally, of course, in relation to the CRA, the manufacturers of products with digital elements, there's many of those. We will be focusing in the first place to those devices which are falling under class 2 or class 1, or again, critical infrastructure type products, where you can further help scrutinizing those with the funds that we make available for these types of activities. So who else are we targeting? So if you belong to any of those 3 domains and you are looking for some support in pen testing or vulnerability assessments for your environments, then please do reach out to us and start an application. And do a search also for your cybersecurity industry partners if you do not have people inside of your organization that would be able to provide you with these activities or these experiences. We are indeed looking for companies that are experienced at some level with such a domain. Now, you can build up your experience thanks to the CYSSDE support. We support companies that are building up their capabilities and capacity in that way. So you can definitely do that if you're planning to hire additional people to do pen tests within your organization. That can definitely also work with the CYSSDE funds, but equally so towards the cybersecurity industry at large. If you are an organization, both public or private, also research groups, and you are looking for funds to support your customers, or you are reaching out to your customers in wanting to help them in their pen testing and vulnerability assessments, of course, we target our open calls also to you as a cybersecurity industry to apply for the open calls with your expertise, as long as you can identify to us how many pen tests that you will be executing, and also to provide us with a large level of confidence that you will be able to address those pen tests and the number of pen tests that you will be executing. Again, not only pen testing, but also vulnerability assessments in the wider context. So both of them, of course, included. But within vulnerability assessments, we also require you to do some level of pen testing activity. Also important for you to know is that the funds can also be used to start developing applications or to operate applications that can do those types of pen testing in an automated way. Of course, with the level of scrutiny behind that, because we do require from the pen tests executed to be of a high standing level of quality, meaning that we will be asking for detailed reports about the pen testing activities themselves, and also we will ask you for a clarification on the methodologies you plan to use to do those types of pen testing activities. We also require you to provide some insight on your level of expertise or the intended hiring of expertise. And of course, if you can support your level of expertise with some either certifications or trainings or a level of expertise that you have built over the years, please provide that also inside of the application form, because that is really what we will be looking for. So if you have references that you have been building up over the last years, those would definitely be of interest. If you have already done some publications in the pen testing activities that you can share, so either CVEs that have been published or other types of researches into that domain that you can share, do definitely share those within the application form. We definitely would always be looking for top cybersecurity companies. So from a very basic analysis in the market, there will be at least 141 expert companies in the field. But this application specifically, this website specifically, is according to us only showcasing a fraction of the total. So we assume that throughout Europe, there will be at least a couple of hundred companies which are doing pen testing types of activities in many different sizes, both large and small. So having said that, definitely also cybersecurity authorities will be able to participate. So those would be strategy offices within the member states, CERTs, security operations centers of the member states, but equally so intelligence services or other sectorial competent authorities. And then, for instance, also, of course, also NCCs or related. But those could also be ISACs that might have an operational team that could work on this from within the organizational environment. So on our website, you'll be able to find this basic flyer, which gives some additional background. We also will be providing some additional background in the form of methodologies, white papers. You can find through our website some indications towards toolings that we recommend. We're of course always welcoming additional insights in both methodologies as well as tooling. We will also be publishing in a couple of days a white paper specifically under the regulatory environments that actually also support the fact that those pen testings are being executed. And where it fits also within the scope of both NIS2 and the cyber resilience improvements, so specifically towards critical infrastructure. So in the backend, who are we? What is CYSSDE? CYSSDE is really a consortium of leading cybersecurity experts that is collaborating with the ECCC and the NCCs. The ECCC is also our main customer as the project, but we have a number of key partners, including also a number of NCCs. In this case, in CYSSDE, the Spanish NCC is a partner to the project. And then we have 3 other NCCs which are participating to support us in making sure that some member state partners can also participate directly. And those will be Romania, Portugal, and Slovenia. And we welcome definitely also those partners in these member states that can reach out to the NCCs and their NCCs for further support. And then, of course, we have some technical support partners within the CYSSDE consortium, including ourselves, Torion, CU, CyberRanges, DNSC, which is the Romanian Cybersecurity Strategy Coordination Center, and then, of course, in CYSSDE themselves. So what do we expect from these open calls is, in overall perspective, to have more than 230 pen tests being done, and we will be issuing more than 4 million euro in total in funding in 2 additional open calls, meaning this open call 2, and then there will be a third one that will follow in the course of 2026. But I would urge you not to wait for that moment. I would urge you to already start participating in 2025, excuse me, in order to be able to at least get some feeling on how things might be working. And so then, of course, if you are not being selected in 2025, where we will be selecting 10 open calls, you have another chance, of course, in 2026, when the third batch in this case will be selected. So we welcome you to investigate also our recommendations towards the pen testing methods and tooling. And we also recommend that you will be able to share with us some of the results and the findings that you have, of course, with the understanding that you will be able to share that from basically the organization where you will be doing the pen tests with. So we do this together with the member states and NCCs. They will be supporting us in exploiting actually also and making sure that there's also more knowledge and understanding about things like NIS2, the CER, DORA, CRA, and some other legislative perspectives. They will also help us in creating additional awareness and maybe also in organizing some matchmaking activities, either virtually or face-to-face. So bringing together critical infrastructures, SMEs, and then the cybersecurity experts for you to join in and to maybe organize a consortium that can jointly apply for this funds. So having said that, that brings me to one final point. In the next couple of weeks, we will be also organizing some additional information sessions that help you maybe to steer your focus and attention while creating the open call. And that is by, for instance, organizing some webinars. So the first one up is on the next week, on the 10th of February at 11 a.m., where we will be actually inviting one of our partners and their experts, Robbe van Rooij, who is a pen tester himself and has been publishing many CVEs, and he will be explaining on some of his experiences in having done these types of activities before. So you can definitely learn from his best practices and experiences, but maybe also reaching out to him to seek out some better methodologies for these things to happen. So what's in it for you beyond, of course, the funding? Quite a lot of things. You can, of course, team up with other European partners and other partners as a whole to be able to find maybe some new domains where you can build up your expertise in terms of pen testing activities. For instance, if you're in IT, you could go into OT or reversely. Of course, there's the financing of the activities itself. The financing is always at 50%, meaning that if you're asking us for 200,000 euros, then you should have a project of about 400,000 euros that we can co-fund, basically, in this case, your project. Excuse me. We will be able to provide you with some additional guidance, mentoring, both in terms of the pen testing activities itself, but also on how to reach out to maybe some additional domains, expert domains, and so forth. We'll be able to provide you with some enhanced collaboration in the industry to figure out where to additionally focus on, and maybe to find some additional peers that might be able to help you with your pen testing challenges. And of course, you'll be able to help us contributing to the further development of the EU when it comes to further improving its cyber resilience overall. So as next steps, do start your OpenCall2 application, sign up for the different activities that we do, and definitely join the CYSSDE community of experts. We will be launching that soon. So in there, we will be sharing some best practices as well. You will be able also to participate and to contribute yourself, and maybe also being invited to participate into one of the CYSSDE webinars, where you can, of course, even show better your expertise into the domain, and of course, bring that along inside of the application itself. And then, of course, afterwards, you can share some of the results from the other partners, where you can definitely also learn from other vulnerabilities that have been exploited. So we have our website that you found in the meantime, where there's some more information that you can learn from, and always happy to be reached out to. So do reach out directly to me in this case, or to the team, and in this case, definitely also using the Discord channel for direct help on the open call itself. So Antonio, with this, I'll hand it over to you to give some more insight on the application itself.
Thank you, Ulrich. We're running a bit out of time, and we already have a lot of questions in the chat, so I will try to be quick. So nice to meet you. I'm Antonio Salvador. I'm the marketing specialist from Funding Box, working in the CYSSDE project, and I will be giving you a short overview of the application process on behalf of Rosas, who is sick today. So let's start. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yes. So we are currently in the middle of the second open call, where we'll be selecting up to 20 companies and distributing 2 million euros. The application deadline is April 7th at I think it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon Brussels times. But please do not wait until the last time to submit your application, because in every open call we find people who has network problems. We can have backend problems due to the overload. So please don't wait to the very last minute, because I can promise you there are lots of people who lost funding because of this. Who can apply to this open call? So it's really private companies of any size, public bodies, and also universities or RTOs. You just have to be registered in an EU member state or owned and controlled by from a EU member state, and you have to be registered from the date this open call is launched. So this is our application portal. I will share with you in the chat. This is the application portal. Oh, 1 second. I will paste it in the chat now. So here you will have different tabs. I will give you a short overview now. Very important. You don't have to do the whole application on your own. If you when you start your application, you will see here add a contributor. So you can add any people from your team, and you can work together on the application. So you can divide the work. Also, you don't have to fill the whole application at once. You can save a draft and then continue afterwards. So I really suggest you to start inviting your peers to work in this. We have different tabs in this application side. Probably the most important is the open call documents. You will find here the guide for applicants with all the necessary documentation. The budget. We will be completing this with the sub-grant agreement also soon. Let me show you directly in the page. This is much better. Okay. So you have the open call documents. You can ask us questions through the help desk here. You can join our community in Discord for live support, or you can go here at the bottom of the page. You will see also our email where you can drop your questions and we will be answering them. Also, maybe we can not answer all your doubts today because the project manager is sick, but all the questions you type in the chat, this week we will be updating this frequently asked question tab. So you will all the questions you type in the chat, you will see this week answered here in any case. This is a bit about the selection process. So we have the first check. Probably you will see it better here. In April 8, we will do the first check. Then in 14, we will do the in-south or south of scope. In May 5, we will start the expert evaluation. And then the legal shelf check to see if everything is correct will be in June. And if you are selected, you will be signing the agreement on June 15. So you can expect to know if you are selected around these dates. It's important that you will not only receive the financial support, you will be also receiving mentoring and technical support from our partners, including developing testing scenarios and external assessments with the end users. One important thing is this mechanism, payment mechanism is a delayed payment mechanism. You will be receiving 10% of these tranches 9 months after the project ends in May 28. I think both two persons have already asked if you will be receiving this recording. So after the webinar, you will receive an automatic email from Zoom with the recording, and also we will be uploading the info they hear in the info they tab afterwards, so you can go back. And I think we can start now with the questions. We have so many questions in the chat already. Also, you can raise your hand afterwards, and we will be sorry giving you the floor to speak. So I don't know, Ulrich, you want me to start reading the questions from the chat, or?
Yes, go ahead. I already browsed through them in the meantime as well, Antonio. So I think there will be many of them that we can probably cover here already.
Okay.
So I see the first one is there. We received an EU call, Digital ECC 2024. Usage, I think that if you have received funding, which I assume that is what you mean, for this specific EC call, which basically is a similar call like the one that CYSSDE is on. Yes, you can still apply for the CYSSDE open call. So even if you receive already funding through this mechanism, yes, you can still apply for this open call as well. Then I see from John, but please pick it up, Antonio. What are the metrics for SMEs? That's a little bit a dubious question, of course, because there's many different metrics that we are applying, specifically also here. So the first metrics that we are applying are the types of SMEs that we would be looking for. If the question here is related to what the SME means specifically, then we use the European definition of an SME, meaning that it's a company of less than 250 persons, full-time equivalents, and with an annual turnover of less than 50 million euro. So those are the metrics for SMEs. If it's referring to what are the metrics for SMEs to apply, in this case also for CYSSDE, the moment that you're an SME, and I think it also responds to a question that comes a little bit later, we do have a preference and part of, let's say, also an interest that startups, SMEs that are applying for this call get some small favors, because we do really recognize that there is a lack of capacity in the European market. So those startup companies that are participating in this open call will definitely be investigated and definitely have a small step ahead. Not that they will be selected for sure, but there is a part of the funds that we will be specifically reserving, making sure that there will be also a number of SME startup companies being selected. And so it's not only the big cybersecurity companies that will be selected on the basis of their expertise and expertise overall. So there will be specifically a number of SMEs also being selected. There's also another aspect to the SMEs. We are, as we said, considering that doing pen tests within SMEs is also something that we are looking into. So do recommend also to your pen testing organizations to take a look in those, but make it more of a balanced approach so that we can also see that you're doing pen test activities not only within SMEs, but also within critical infrastructures or important entities. And so a good balance would be probably a more interesting application. Antonio, next question.
Let me check. This was what are the chances for you just answered Marius, right? What are the chances? Okay, so next question is Mark Tona, does physical pen test qualify for this open call?
So yes, of course they do. The point is, of course, that you have to describe what types of physical pen testing you would be doing, and it of course has to have an impact on cyber. So even physical pen testing, like the one that I showed you, in terms of the board with many different components on it, if that's what you mean with physical pen testing, and you can describe that also properly, and you can also describe how you will be addressing in this case the appliance to do your pen testing on, that would definitely be also of interest and fits within the scope.
Thank you. In the application, what should we write for NR volume in the project summary section?
What should we write for number-volume in the project summary section? Okay. So the important thing for us in this case, Mohammed, is that we get an understanding of the volumes that you plan to do your pen tests on. So you can say, for instance, okay, we're going to do one single pen test for the whole budget, basically that you would like to get. To say that you would be going for the full 200,000 euros, meaning that you would spend 400,000 euros as a whole for just one pen test. That is, of course, something that you can do, but we would recommend not to do that, and we would recommend to put in a volume which is higher than one, for sure. I think you get a bit of the drift that the volumes that you can actually achieve with the pen testing and the funds that we provide are also an important aspect to the reasoning for the question.
Can the fund be used for the development of a system for assessment and penetration test?
I think I actually already answered that question when I was giving the presentation. So the answer there is yes. However, we have to see also the results of the developments of that system. So if you want to do the development within the course of the year, and you can provide a convincing story that with the development, you will be able to get to your expected number of pen tests, then that would definitely also be an application that will be put under consideration for being an interesting one. Absolutely.
Thank you. Hi, the CYSSDE penetration test open call 2 has a co-funding rate of 50%. Is it possible for a penetration testing SME to charge the end user for the cost of the pen test?
So yeah, it's also a bit of a dubious question, or it can be seen in many different perspectives. So the basic answer is yes, on all ways that you would read the question. So in the first place, if you would be a penetration testing SME, you're charging your end users for the whole cost of the pen test. That is, of course, something that you can do for sure. And then you will still be granted the full amount that you're asking for, up to 200,000 euros, of course. So yes, that can be the case. On the other hand, if you say, I'm going to offer this to my customers in order for them to be able to get a sort of a bonus, or making sure that there's more interest for them in taking you as a supplier, and you basically use the funds that you will be receiving to lower the cost to your end users, that can also be the case. So basically, you lower the cost for either your end users, or you increase your own profits by charging the full cost to your end users. So totally up to you. You decide.
Okay, question from Muhammad. In the budget calculation spreadsheet, do we need to explain in detail how the fund will be used?
Yes, because we would like to see a breakdown of those funds, and that budget will also be used once you would be selected in a first level. That budget basically has to be written down in a sort of a project plan, like Antonio was already mentioning. And so we will be, of course, also keeping track that you will be spending the amounts that you're promising to spend in order to be able to also receive the co-financing in this case. So the preference is in detail, and the preference is also to a level of detail that can be comprehensible for, in this case, us, to see how the funds will be distributed, and how it basically also will serve you in executing your activities.
Leonidas, can the minimum number of 10 required assessments be performed on the same critical infrastructure or other relevant entity?
So the answer there is yes, they can. What we would like to see is a good description of those 10 required assessments. If you plan to do that in a, let's say, a normal way, where you first do an assessment to understand what potential challenges are, and then you say within the course of the time of the project, which is in this case maximum 12 months, you can identify, okay, we're going to mitigate this in such a way, and then you will be doing another pen test to basically test that mitigation strategy. That is, of course, very much welcomed and allowed. If you say then, for instance, after a period of time, we're going to do yet the third pen test to check whether the systems are still okay, and to use it therefore, also still very much acceptable. So it really is depending on the reasoning and the methodology that you would like to put in place, which would need to be, of course, to be shown as being a professional and relevant type of methodology, using let's say professional and excellent tools to be able to do that. Of course, it's also depending on yourself and your application to make a better case by saying, okay, we're going to take this in a very professional manner, but even next to that, we're going to do some additional pen tests in other organizations as well. So don't put, let's say, the ambition too low, because there will be competitors that will have likely a higher ambition than you, and so in this case, there might be more of an interest in selecting those. Now, having said that, the reviews of your applications will be happening by independent evaluators. So once they are done with that, we will be getting the selection of them. So you'll have to convince the independent evaluators of your writings. So therefore, keep that in mind, that you have to be convincing enough and having a good story in order to make sure that you get the funds. It will be a competitive call.
Thank you. Marius wants to know, big companies already have funds and equipment. Little companies have little customers or no customers at all. So are these funds for big companies?
I already addressed it before as well. We do recognize that, of course, Marius, that there will be large companies also participating in this call. However, we do see already now that there's quite a number of applicants from, let's say, the smaller size. And as I said before, we do also have a small favor of parts of the budget to startup companies and SMEs in this domain, because we want to make sure that there is a growth in this domain of capacity in cybersecurity assessments.
Okay, regarding next question, yes, you will be receiving an email from Zoom with the recording afterwards. Let's continue. How do you envision reporting to CYSSDE, considering that end users will not want to share reports on their penetration testings, and companies aren't often bound by NDAs, especially for critical infrastructure?
Yeah, okay. I think that's a very fair question to ask. So within CYSSDE, we of course need to have a report on the activities that you do. So you have to also point it out to your customers that some of the results of the pen tests will have to be shared with us. Now they can be shared, excuse me, with us, excuse me, under the same NDA. Yeah, it's still in the flu from last week. That's still inside of my throat. They can be shared under NDA. We have a project status of sensitive when it comes to these types of intelligence and information. We won't be asking you to share the full detail of the vulnerabilities unless, of course, a certain point in time that they can be shared publicly in the open. But we do recommend to also convey to the end users, the critical infrastructures in some cases as well, to at least give an indication of the sharing that they would like to do amongst their peers and definitely also with the member states. So we don't have to get the full detail, but as long as they can be shared, for instance, in this case also with some of the peers and with the member states, so that the whole community can learn from it, that would be more than advisable, for sure.
Thank you. Is this digital project complemented with funding from Horizon Europe?
It is complementary to Horizon Europe, correct.
Okay. Is there a list of past open call winners?
There are many different open calls where some of the open call winners have been presented. The open calls related to CYSSDE, this is the first one that we organized for pen testing and vulnerability assessments. So there's no prior list available at this point in time.
Thank you. Christopher wants to know, we are an OffSec company. What would be the best way to apply to the open call? The application for it is designed for organizations that have defined requirements around penetration testing projects already.
Well, there's only one way to apply for the open call, which is the best way, and it is through the application form. So that is the only way. There's no other way.
Mohammed is asking, where do we get the declaration document that needs to be signed?
So the declaration document as such, it's basically part of the application form. And so it is basically the declaration that you consent to the fact that the information that you are providing is right and true. And therefore that you can be scrutinized, of course, in the case that some information is not correct, then you might not be able to be selected as a participant to the open call.
Thank you. As a pen test provider, am I obliged to do projects only through discussions with NCCs, or can I work with former and future clients if they fall under NAS2 or CRA?
You are definitely not obliged to do anything apart from filling in the application form and making sure that everything is in there that we are asking for. You're definitely not obliged to work with the NCCs. That's basically an offering that some of the NCCs can provide, but you can definitely work with your future clients or former clients, whether they fall under NIS2 or CRA or not.
Okay, we have two questions in a row. Can the applications be submitted as a consortia or only by individuals? For instance, can a proposal be submitted by two organizations?
The answer to that is yes. We allow for a consortium of two organizations to participate. It can, however, not be entered into by an individual, so it has to be an organization.
Can Swiss entities submit proposals?
I don't think that Switzerland is falling under the alleged additional countries in this case. So I think unfortunately not, but Antonio, I see you nodding as well.
Yes, I don't think so, but I have to check.
Yeah. So unfortunately not.
Are we planning to organize another webinar? Yes, we are organizing another one within the next month. We will be publishing it soon on the application side. Next question. For an SME that will apply alone, is it mandatory to identify at the proposal stage the end user, critical infra, or, oh, sorry, the chat moved, or which the pen test will be carried out?
So it is not mandatory to do that. To do that. But we recommend you to do that because there will be partners in the application or competitors, if you like, that might be putting that in. And from a reviewer perspective, it will give him more comfort that he can see that you know basically immediately where you're going to do those pen tests. Even if you can provide some additional level of confidence, like for instance, letters of support from this entity or even a contract is even better because it will provide some even more additional level of comfort to the reviewers that you know where you're going to do the pen tests.
Thank you. Two questions now from Solution Lab LTGR. Assuming that a company is one of the successful applicants to receive CYSSDE funding, how likely is it that this will bring some contracts along with it? Is there an existing network of essential important services clients and SMEs on standby to engage CYSSDE partners with the penetration testing work?
Well, the answer to the question is a bit twofold. So on the one hand side, yes, we do have a group of entities of interest that are looking for pen testers. However, you should not assume that, and we need to make sure that all applicants and applications are doing their homework, and that you yourself can also identify either appliances, devices, environments where you will be doing pen tests and vulnerability assessments. And in the same lines as the previous, the more comfort that you can bring to the table for our evaluators to review, the better it will work out for you.
Will it be okay to use part of the funding awarded by CYSSDE to provide discounts to clients?
As I already answered that question,
Oh,
so the answer is yes. It is okay. The way that you distribute the funds internally is totally up to you, as long as you can, of course, justify the additional amounts that you would be needed to get the co-funding.
okay, I think you already answered the next one, but just in case, you said earlier that we should propose minimum one penetration test, but in the guideline for applicants, where you describe the activities proposed, sponsors, you mentioned applicants can decide upon one or more of these activities as long as they can provide minimum of 10 penetration tests or vulnerability assessments. Do we gain maximum of points if we propose 10?
No, you will gain the minimum of points.
So next question from Dragomir is it possible for Horizon countries to apply or in partnership with European SMEs?
Yeah, so the answer to that question, so there's a number of countries which are eligible. Those countries are also listed in the guide for applicants. Those are not the same as the countries that would be applicable for Horizon funding. So you have to take a look into that. Yes, you can establish a partnership with an SME in the EU, but only the SME in the EU will be receiving the funds.
Thank you, John is asking, we as a pen testing specialist, can we propose projects coming from SMEs? And these companies have to register before 7/0. I think that's the end of the open call. I think it's
Yes, so that's probably 7th of April, correct?
yes.
So as pen testing specialists, we would recommend you then to fill an application before the 7th of April. And if you have projects coming from those SMEs, then is to make sure that you list those out and make them as concrete as possible inside of the application. Those companies, those SMEs, unless they would also be applying for the funds, do not have to register if you are planning to do the pen testing activities. If the SMEs are planning to do the pen testing activities and they would like to hire you as a pen testing specialist, that can also be the case. So then the SME in this case that will need to fill in the application form and identify you as the pen testing organization and provide all the necessary details. So it can be either one.
I think the next question is very interesting. How will we prove that we have the money to cover the 50%? We have to have it in the bank, or it works with the invoices of the payments during this project?
So the letter is fine, meaning that we will be giving this as a lump sum, but we do ask you to provide an oversight on the expenses being made. So that means the 400,000 if you would be applying for the 200,000 in order for us to be able to cover them for the other 50%. But you don't have to have it on the bank, no.
Thank you, Rick. So that was the last question. Anyway, we are available 24/7 on the email provided in the application site or in the community. You will also be able to access this through the application site. So thank you, everyone. And remember, you will receive afterward the webinar recording. Good luck with your application. We hope to see you again soon in the next webinar.
And maybe one final note from my side before we hook in. Do know that if you start filling in the applications by the next time that we have a webinar, which will be next month, we can probably take a little bit of a look into the different applications that we have received and provide you some additional feedback so that all of you together, the things that we can see, we can help you to improve your applications. But of course, we will not be doing that on an individual basis. So the general remarks that we see, where we can see that there's maybe some questions that are being answered in maybe not the way that we intended the questions to be answered, we'll be able to provide some guidance in the next webinar. So stay tuned and be participative.
Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you all, and thank you very much, Antonio, for guiding us.
Bye. Thank you.